Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fortress Comic News, episode 390. I'm one of your hosts, Chris, alongside my co-host, Mike. What's going on,
Hey.
Mike?
Nothing much. There's a snake in our podcast today. What?
Where? I don't like snakes.
For the interview. Yeah,
Oh.
so we have the writer from The View of the Phoenix Trees. Snake will be on the show, and we'll talk about why his name is Snake and the amazing poetry that he gives us. So if you're looking forward to an origin story spoken in poetry, and I'm going to be upfront, Chris, when somebody says they want to give their origin in poem form, because I think anybody that's ever recited a poem or spoken a poem or might have done like slam poetry in front of me has always been a little like, but I've never heard it done well. And I will say I was like, it had like cadence to it. It had a nice beat. It flowed nicely, and it was amazing. Now I want everybody to do the origin stories like that. So I was very happy and pleasantly surprised, and kudos and credit to Snake for doing that. He's a professional, at writing poems and doing, speaking in front of audiences, doing that stuff. So it was really cool.
Yeah, when you mentioned it, I was 100% team content. Like, we're doing this.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it might be the worst thing on the show or the best thing on the show, but we got it recorded either. Yeah, but it's really cool. So looking forward to that in a little bit. Halloween is upon us, and I was at the card shop, playing Magic as one does. And I at the counter, and I think they sell this in other stores too. You can, instead of giving out candy this year, which I am also doing, but they sell these mini packs of Pokemon cards.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, Trick or Trade, it's called. So I guess they did this last year. They're little 3 packs of Pokemon cards, so you can give those out with the candy and get children addicted to opening packs. So I'm going to save these for the older kids that I think would enjoy these when I give out candy this year. But it was pretty cool. It was like $15 for like 40 of them. So which is honestly cheaper than some of the candy out there.
Yeah.
So, and if you're worried about your kids' razor blades in their candy, which is the thing when we were kids, I don't know if it was a thing. My mom always just said it was, or drugs or meth, you should really be worried about these things, because this will be a slippery slope. And they'll be addicted for life, because here I am.
Yeah, they've done this for a few years. I thought they're interesting. If I got trick-or-treaters where I am...
Yeah.
And honestly, thank God I don't. I would do that too, but yeah. I'm lucky if, like, honestly, everybody leaves my neighborhood and goes, like, into the city to...
In your area, when I was in college, we would go to Pittsford, because that was where the money was. And we would go and get king-size candy bars from places.
When I was with my ex, we would take her kids because we were in town limits, into the city limits, and just walk around like those neighborhoods, because there's just no one around here. It's out in the middle of nowhere. You have to walk like 5 minutes in between house minimum.
Oh yeah, that's not happening. Yeah,
and then B, like, no one's doing anything.
Where we are, we're not like in a city, but we're in a definitely a community, and everything is a grid. So there's like house. So what happens is, it's like a traffic jam here on Halloween, because you got like parents parking at the end of each of the avenues and just let their kids run down the avenues, hit up the houses, and then they drive to the next one.
I say, growing up, I'm used to this, because I say city limits.
Yeah.
It's not a city. Like, it's technically a city, right? By the definition of what they call a city. It's not a city. It's a small town. It's just a little bit bigger than a small town, I guess.
Yep.
Enough to be justified as a city legally.
Understood. I've been trying to watch more spooky stuff to get into the Halloween mood. What did I just watch this morning? Oh, Freddy vs. Jason. I don't think I've ever watched that movie. At one point,
it's a movie, all right.
At one point, it almost turns into like WrestleMania.
Yep.
Which is amazing. I was like, all right, and I have to think, Chris, that like the writers, they know their audience, but also I almost get the feels of like the Fast and the Furious writing, where they like, oh, they're just embellishing this shit. Like, they know what they're doing, and like. So one of the scenes, and this is, I don't know why this stuck out to me so much. Maybe because I used to drink beer out of pitchers in college. But there's a part where like Jason is like in a cornfield, and he's like standing there and these two like they're like smoking weed. These two college kids or high school kids. Sorry, they look like they're 30, but they're standing there and they turn and they're like, "Oh man, must be this Everclear that we're drinking." And the kid's holding a full pitcher of Everclear and like a cup with like clear liquid, which is Everclear. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, like Everclear is like rubbing alcohol. You used to use it as like a mixture for punch in college, but like these kids are straight up and just have a pitcher of Everclear. I'm like, this is insane. This is not what people do. Maybe this is what people do in cornfields, but
that was the drink that we would like dare each other to do.
Yeah, to do like one shot, and you'd be like, "Oh,
yeah,
God.
Like do a shot. You won't do it."
Yeah, and they're just like downing a pitcher. He's got half a cup in his hand, like he's like sipping on it. And I'm like, why is? And then they're like they start fighting with Jason. He throws the pitcher on him and sets him on fire. I'm like, okay, you just needed an alcohol to set Jason on fire. Now I get it. Yeah. So that's been that. Just trying to enjoy that. And I did check out the first episode of the Junji Ito Uzumaki. The Spiral story is on HBO.
I saw that. It looks unique.
Yeah, the art style. So I didn't care for the art or the way the animation worked, but it has a really Junji Ito feel to it. And I will say the first episode is straight up from the manga. I do think it's an interesting way to. I think treating it differently than other animes is cool. So I'm going to stick with it. I think a new episode comes out every Sunday morning, which is weird for a horror anime, but I really liked it. I think the artists they have doing the animation is like, because Junji Ito stories don't work if you don't have something similar to his art style. So I was really happy that they captured that. But yeah, I guess we'll just jump into the TV news.
Let's do it.
So we finally have we've been getting like an announcement every week for the Green Lantern TV series. We have a director. So James Howes has been tapped to direct the first 2 episodes of the series. Howes is known for his work on Black Mirror, Doctor Who, and many other TV series. Doctor Who, one of the most iconic TV shows of all time. It's a pretty big one. And also, I can flip this around, a show where you have to know and cater to your fan base when you're directing one of those episodes. So, somewhat similar to what you got to do with a DC comic show.
Yeah, from what I heard, he's responsible for some of the more iconic ones too. So,
okay, cool.
I don't watch Doctor Who. I don't know.
I tried to. I was getting into it, then I fell off. I got to get back into it.
I don't know. Just never tried it. But
yeah,
it's cool to see that. Like, not if there's a director in place for at least the first 2 episodes, which is usually like in a series like this, the 2 that really. It makes me think A, it's going to launch as a 2-episode premiere, and B, it's just these are the ones that really set things up so that we know what's going on moving forward. So these are kind of the 2 most important ones for a show like this. So it's cool. I'm glad to see some movement on the show. I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row we've had something, and this show they've been talking about this show for what, like 2 or 3 years now.
Years. Yeah.
I honestly was at a point where I'm like, this show will never exist.
Yeah. It's
and
like,
I guess I'm wrong, but yeah.
Yeah. I guess we'll see, what the future brings. I try not to get my hopes up too much with this stuff. I really want a Green Lantern show. I want to be excited about Green Lantern again. They could do so much cool stuff. If I get to see like a live action Black Hand, one of my favorite villains of all time, with, the Black Lanterns, and I think that would be really cool. I just want to see him in that like goofy costume and with like the big symbol on his chest. I think it'd be awesome. Maybe we'll get there one day, but
maybe there's a lot of things that gotta go right there. But
yeah,
for now, just tell a good Green Lantern story. Right. Introduce the character. Like, let's get this universe just moving in a good direction.
Yeah. I watched Penguin 2, episode 2. Really liked it. I think it is funny because like it almost seems like Penguin just falls into shit every episode so far and like comes out smelling like roses. I think we have a clear path for the show now after episode 2. He kind of the first episode is like everybody starts shitting on him. The second episode, there's some really like intense scenes, like very high stress scenes, because they're like looking for a mole within the organization, and some things come up where he's about to get caught as being like going in between working for families, but he kind of gets the Falcone daughter, Sophia, because she's been like shunned by the family. They don't want her to run the business where she thinks she should. Then you learn some more fucked up stuff about her, like why she was in Arkham. She like had murdered little girls or something like that. It's really fucked up. But Penguin kind of convinces her at the end, like, we need to do that, we can do this together, and like gets her to like want to screw over the family too. So I think it's really good. I mean, Colin Farrell's an amazing actor. We get to see a lot more of Sophia too and what's going on there, but there's some really good and stressful scenes, and and you get to see a little more of like, some of it is Penguin's playing dumb, but also he's definitely getting lucky at some points, but he's also playing it off like he's a lot dumber than he is, and he's not. So I've been really liking it.
Yeah, I just didn't get around to watching anything, including Agatha this week. Just one of those weeks. I got to read some comics. I did do that, but yeah, just TV show watching did not hit the way I wanted it to this week. Hopefully, I will sometime this coming week. As you're all listening to this, hopefully I'm already caught up, but I'm going to try to catch up on both of those because, I like both those shows.
Yeah.
One more than other, and we'll see. And then as we're recording, it's Sunday, everybody, so episode 3 will be dropping for us tonight, I believe.
If I stay up, we'll see. I probably won't.
So I'll have 2 of each to watch this week. But now that, because we're actually, quick little weather talk, Mike.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about it.
We're coming up on the first frost of the year here in New York. So there was a lot of preparations for my property and like all the the gardens and all that stuff that was happening this week, on top of just being busy because last week my birthday landed on it. So I was constantly just in a good way.
Non-stop. Yeah.
Being like going out doing things with people and all that.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I will talk about how last episode of second season of Rings of Power, it was pretty epic. There's a lot of like, they really do speed things along. They're like, bam, this, because there's it's kind of like Game of Thrones where there's a lot of characters they're following. The Gandalf storyline is really cool because like he finds his staff. He figures out why he's called Gandalf, because the young the little like half-wits, the halflings that he's been like parading around with, start referring to him as Gandalf, and so like it kind of flows into Gandalf.
Yeah, hobbits.
Yeah, they're hobbits, but they're not hobbits yet. So it's like,
they're not hobbits yet.
No, so they're called like Harfoots because they're hobbits settle down, and these are like they're like nomads. So they like hide in the grass, like halflings that like set up camp in the grass, and they're very mobile. And then they start talking in this season about how it's getting more dangerous for them to travel because Middle Earth there's a lot of evil rising up. So they're gonna they talk about, hey, people have thought about like digging holes into the side of the hills and settling there. So this is like the start of the hobbits.
So this is kind of showing why he has an affinity for the hobbits.
Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty cool because he's like, the wizards, the lore of the wizards, and man, I don't know the names, what they call the wizards, but there's a special name.
Fake nerd.
Yeah. They come down as like a meteor. They get like sent down and hit the earth, and that's like your first introduction to Gandalf. It's like he hits the earth and he can't remember who he is or what he's sent there to do. There's always like a purpose that they're there for. And so that's like his storyline, is like he finds these traveling people and doesn't know, what the hell he's doing. So which is really cool. And there's a dark wizard that he kind of fights with in this season, and we don't know who it is yet. If it's, people think it's Saruman because he doesn't have a name to him yet, but I hope not. I hope he's just another wizard, but we'll have to wait. And then, yeah.
I'll say this publicly. I've actually, the more and more I'm hearing about this show, the more and more I'm kind of like, I might check it out.
Yeah.
But it might be one of those things I'll wait till it's done.
Yeah. I think this season's definitely a lot better than the last season. There were some epic shots, like I talked about the dwarves were digging further and further into the mines, and they did awaken the Balrog. And so like there's this epic like scene of the Dwarven King like grabs his axe and like jumps at the Balrog and like hits his sword and causes this explosion for the mine to collapse and stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff. We kind of see how Sauron gets into power and how that's going to be moving into season 3. Like they talk about a war coming and stuff. So all in all, it's a good season. A lot of setup. Some characters are better than others, I think, because some aren't the best actors. Some I'm just not interested in their storylines. But I think all in all, like I'm really into the dwarves are like my favorite part because I think all the actors are fantastic, and Khazad-dûm where they live is just so cool the way they do it. So I think I think season 3 is going to be really good. Highly recommend it.
Very cool.
Yeah. Comic news, there's a little bit of comic news, but like Chris read a lot of comics this week. I read a lot of comics this week, so we'll be talking about a lot of comics.
And I was gonna say, like, there's not that much comic news, everybody.
Yeah.
Next week's New York Comic Con, so I feel like next week is gonna be an extra long episode because there's gonna be so much news.
Because we're gonna talk about comics and Magic cards. Hopefully hopefully Magic comics. Yeah, Magic comics be great. All right, so Marvel announced in the page of the Ultimates number 8, we'll meet the Ultimate Universe's version of the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's going to include Star-Lord, Captain Marvel, Ultimate Nullifier, and Cosmo. Interesting. So we're getting a new Ultimate Guardians of the Galaxy book. I wonder who's going to be writing that. We might down the line get a book, but yeah, they're being introduced. I mean, I always like the Guardians. This is obviously a brand new take on all of it. I kind of like the changes they've made. Yeah. Star-Lord looks kind of like almost like a monk from like D&D. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And if you scroll down your notes, you can see him. Yep. And Captain Marvel, I like that she's more Kree than human. Mm-hmm. And then Ultimate Nullifier just seems like traditional Star-Lord to me. Yeah. And then Cosmo's just a good boy. Just a good boy. Cosmo's got an updated spacesuit. Yeah. Yeah, I'm down. Like, it's an alternate universe. We don't need to 1-for-1 everything. No, we don't. Yeah. And so far in the Ultimate Universe, we have not 1-for-1 anything, pretty much. I mean, I'm sure somebody can find examples. There are. But a lot of the main things about it have not been so 1-for-1. I mean, Green Goblin and Spider-Man are friends and they're working together. The X-Men, I don't know what's going on in that book. Black Panther is probably the closest 1-for-1, but even that, like, dealing with the moon god and the sun god and how that's affecting Africa and everything, like, take some chances, do some new things. It's one of the reasons we're both so excited to read Absolute Batman that comes out as you're all listening to this week as well. So hell yeah. I'm down for the changes. I want to see what they can do that's new, different, interesting. Yeah. All new, all different. Damn straight. Image Comics announced a new series from writer and artist Jesus Orellana, who is a filmmaker behind the short film Rosa. The series is called Juvenile and will be a 5-issue series. In a future where deadly virus kills everyone, too real. Upon reaching adulthood, teenagers are confined to massive medical facilities until a mysterious new patient arrives and reveals a shocking secret. Sarah is locked up in El Castillo, a fortress for troubled youth ruled with an iron fist by a retired military officer. Everything changes with the arrival of a mysterious new patient who reveals a shocking secret. The virus isn't killing them. It's giving them telekinetic abilities that the adults are desperately trying to suppress with medication, experimental surgeries, and a race against time. They decide to use their newfound powers to escape. But when the adults find out, they'll discover that not only their lives are at stake, but also the fate of the human race. That sounds pretty cool. Quick side story, Mike. Yeah. I was at the local game store. Okay. And I was with a friend, and we're looking through all the games and everything, and I ended up buying a bunch of D&D shit. Nice. But have you ever heard of the board game Pandemic? It's a pretty popular one. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm trying to explain it to her, and then I just settle on, you know what it is? It's like if you could control COVID, but it actually killed everybody. And she said the same thing you said, which is like, that's too real. I lived through that already. Yeah, too real. I didn't need to play a game about that. But yeah, this seems interesting. I don't know if I'll actually read it, but yeah, it sounds like a cool concept. My only thing is,
we're at the point. Speaking of COVID, we're far enough away where we are really seeing everybody's COVID story. Like this is.
They're like, oh, it's been long enough. Yeah.
Yeah, like there was. I saw a joke the other day for anyone out there that watches football. That the initial test results for Christian McCaffrey were that he would be back by week 1. We're now almost in week 6, and he's still out, and like they don't know when he's going to come back. And the joke was like, we're finally seeing the ramifications of doing med school on Zoom. And I'm like, yeah, we're kind of seeing like the ramifications of those 2 years.
Yeah.
In terms of storylines.
It's starting to catch up.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what it is. And honestly, even though if this was pre-COVID and you gave me this book, I would have been like, this is a cool idea. I might check it out. Post-COVID, and I've seen so many COVID books. I'm not really down for it anymore. I'd rather read, let's just say, hypothetically, a book about Darkseid merging with Spectre and attacking the Justice League. Like that stuff.
That would be a really cool book. I wish DC would do that.
I don't mind dark, gritty, dim things. And if you do something like, if I find out that this book is like one of the best books of the year, I might go back and check it out. But based on what I've seen here and everything, and then I watched kind of a little bit of this it's funny because they really hounded on the fact that this Jesus is a filmmaker. It's an 8-minute film.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's the only thing he's done. And like, good on him. He made something I didn't, I'm not shitting on him for it. But I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, I guess you have to attach his resume to something, but
nobody.
I just gotta know more about him.
Yeah. All right. With that, let's talk about what we read this week. There's a few books I didn't get to because I had so many friggin' books. I'll say the ones I didn't get to. JSA 12 because 11 didn't really do anything for me.
Let me stop you right there. Because I did read JSA 12.
Oh. And
I have some very, very strong opinions. This book fucking sucks.
Okay. Yeah, well, I could have... Yeah. JSA 11 didn't do anything for me, so...
The entire book is... I get Jeff Johns loves Stargirl. Let me be clear with everybody. I don't care about Stargirl.
It's all about Stargirl. Oh.
It is Stargirl graduating from high school. So it's literally Jeff Johns moving her past the high school kid, which I get is something. And at the end, like there's that he puts another tribute to was it his sister that it's based on?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it his sister's daughter? I think it's his sister. And I respect that. I love that. All that stuff. It's literally just like her graduating from high school and then like 2-page spreads of her in different like parts of her career. And then it ends. And I was just like, this entire JSA book sucks. It started off really good.
It sucks.
It's gone on too long.
Yeah.
And it was proof. When I finished that, I'm sitting by myself in a car.
Yeah.
Because I'm at work when I'm reading it. And I audibly said out loud, what the fuck was that? I am so happy that somebody else is getting JSA. I feel vindicated that I said from the beginning I didn't want Jeff Johns in this book because I thought that somebody else's voice should be on the JSA.
Yep.
I feel like we accomplished nothing.
Yeah, because I mean, you could not read those 12 issues. Nothing's changed for the JSA. There was a storyline there about Huntress trying to bring the JSA back, but we never got that.
And at the end of the day, because I felt for a minute there he was trying to do a
issue 11 was the last issue to me. Like that's why I didn't.
It really is.
I was like, why did they come out with another issue? 11 was the wrap up issue.
Yeah, 12's a waste of time.
Yeah.
I thought that they were really building towards something with the Legion.
Yeah, they didn't. Nothing. There's nothing.
Nothing.
There. Yeah. But yeah, just
it honestly, even though you say it wrapped up, it didn't end.
No, it didn't end.
It didn't. Nothing happened. I just
they moved the JSA into the 31st century, right? And then they're like, okay, goodbye.
So I'm really excited for Jeff Lemire's JSA.
Yeah.
I think that Jeff Lemire is a very underrated superhero comic writer. And he just got the biggest favor Jeff Johns could do him, which is now the stakes are so low because all you have to do is be better than that.
Yeah, you just have to tell a coherent story.
And I've been reading Black Hammer for a long time, everybody.
Done JSA, it's Black Hammer, yeah.
He's going to kill JSA. So I'm ready to move on. Hence
why one of the biggest JSA fans here did not read his JSA book above all these other books this week, because I knew it would be on the bottom.
Dude, I downloaded it on my tablet.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad I didn't buy this physically now, because then I had to find a way to get rid of these books.
Yeah.
I downloaded it on my tablet, and I was like, I just got to read JSA. I got like, it's the last issue.
Right.
I got to see how he wraps this thing up.
Yeah.
And I was just so mad at what, it's
so mad.
I will not be recommending this book. It will not end up on a top 5 at the end of the year.
No, it won't.
I am very glad that Jeff Johns has moved on to his own stuff, because the stuff he's doing at Image, which we'll talk more about later,
it's great.
Is way better.
Way better than this crap.
Yeah.
Stuff I had to catch up on. Saga 69. Yeah, whatever. Prince Robot says he will kill. He agrees to kill the Will to get the forces to join his war, because the war's still going on, I guess. More stuff happening on the ship is meh. That's what I wrote, so nothing great. Galactor, Gatchaman, Galactor #2 was good. I thought it was a good issue of him trying to find the moles within his organization, and then he gets shot by one at the end of the issue, which was cool. Wolverine Revenge #2 was really awesome. I was just upset that, I mean, Capullo's art is amazing on this book. The fight with Sabretooth was cool. I wish it just might have resolved in the issue and didn't get like, oh, watch this fight continue on in the next issue. It's like, come on, guys, really?
I feel like every issue, there's going to be a formula.
Yeah.
That's going to be like, we start off with this fight, it's going to lead him to the next fight, which ends the issue, which does it over and over again, which is fine. Like, I'm enjoying it. So
the art's amazing. So
yeah.
Capullo, man, so good to see him back. Plastic Man No More #2. This was an amazing issue. It was a heist issue where he wants to get a huge abundance of uranium to fix his problem that he's having of the depolymerization, wants to help his son. So he finds out that the No-Face Man has abducted uranium from the Metal Men. So he gathers the Metal Men to do a heist for him to capture uranium back. The funny part is, when he goes to the Justice League, he'd be like, yeah, I'm going to go do this. And they're like, you sure you don't want help? He's like, nah, that's fine. So he does that. He captures them all. And his plan goes sideways when all of them get dumped into a vat of like magma, and all the Metal Men get melted. So he completely fucks it all up. This book has been a lot of fun. I mean, there's more, the son gets a hold of the mom, like, hey, there's something wrong with, dad and all this stuff. So the book is amazing. There's a lot of highs. There's a lot of lows. The characters they're pulling out are great. Yeah, I think this might be one of my top 5s. I mean, this is such a good book. Did you read it this week?
I didn't get a chance to read this.
Okay.
No.
You should have read that more than JSA, I'll tell you that. Sorry. Hyde Street #1.
Yes, sir.
This was something I was really looking forward to, because basically it's a combination of my 2 favorite things, folks. There it is. It is Twilight Zone meets horror, or like Creepshow, something like that. But I thought it was a solid first issue. Hyde Street is like the Twilight Zone for monsters, killers, bad people in the world. It's almost like they get put in this street beyond space and time. You could just turn onto the street if you had some wrongdoings in your life, and these people like punish you. So the first issue revolves around the Mr. X-Ray, right? And the this little like demon, what do you call them? Boy Scouts. Yeah. And they're almost like there's all these, and then we get a glimpse of like all the different killers there. There's somebody keeping them there, and they have like a kill count they need to get to before they can be released. But I don't think that's going to be the case, because some people have like over 10,000 kills. And we see a lot of other characters. The art is fantastic. I think it's a really interesting story, and they're straight up doing like the Twilight Zone monologues and stuff like that, and I think that's awesome. Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it because it was it wasn't like look at me horror, like let's try to be over the top and like gory horror. It was like, it was basically their entire goal is to like condemn souls to hell. Yeah, what I kind of gathered. Yep. And I like the character of Mr. X-Ray. I like that he was like an ad guy for all the comic book stuff from the 70s and 60s. That was cool. Yeah, that was cool. That was his job. Yeah. And then honestly, just reading a book that Ivan Reis is drawing was my favorite part of the whole book. Is so good, man. It's insane. He's like one of my favorite artists, and he's just not talked about enough. He's amazing. Ever since I read that Aquaman run that him and Jeff did, I've been in love with his art. So
yeah,
I think it's a good first issue, and it's. I was trying to think of where I put it in terms of the other Ghost Machine stuff, and it's hard because it's one issue.
Yeah,
but I think it lands above Geiger, but below the other two for me. Okay. But still, like those are 4 books that every week I look forward to. So
yeah, for sure. Red Coat number 6, kind of the wrap up of the first series there.
Which I didn't get to, but
okay. So it kind of resolves the first story arc. You know, Benedict Arnold being the villain. We kind of see how that all resolves, and he gets defeated. And then there's some talks about like George Washington. And at the end of the book, he like picks up the evil spell book, so that's where it leaves off. So I guess we'll get another 6 issues maybe about George Washington or something. But I won't tell you the details. I won't spoil it. But it was a really good issue, I think. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Like you said, those Hyde Street is probably my favorite, and then Rook, and then Geiger, and then Red Coat for sure in that order.
Yeah. If Hyde Street didn't come out this week, Rook would have been the one I read. Or Red Coat would have been the one I read first. But new number 1, I wanted to check it out and talk about it. But yeah, Red Coat's my favorite so far.
So the next two I have Absolute Power 4 and DCL and Special, but before that I have Batman 153. So maybe I'll talk about Batman 153.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I remember I read them. I went out of my way to read them Absolute Power, All In, Batman.
Yeah, and Batman is kind of like out of everything else.
Well, Batman's the first official All-In book I read.
Yeah.
Because I have Shazam. I didn't read it yet.
But
you don't necessarily need to read Absolute Power and All-In to know what's going on with Batman.
No, because like Batman All-In is kind of just like, it's just picking up where Chip's story left off. Kind of.
It's starting a new story arc. So
So I mean, Batman 153. I was like, Gotham's in an interesting state. Yeah, there it is. Riddler's a tech guru.
Which I thought was really fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Crime is kind of slowed down, and there's like this American flag vigilante going through Gotham, kind of like Captain America.
My note at that moment, what went through my head was, who is this Captain America fucking lookalike?
Yeah, for real. Straight up lookalike. I don't know how I felt about this book, because there's a lot of things going on. There's some stuff that's like a little on the nose, like politically. And I don't know. I'm just kind of confused about like the direction this book's going to go in, because there's things happening like they're like shitting on Bruce Wayne. There's people protesting outside of Wayne Tower. Edward Nygma is trying to get him to be cooperate with him. Batman still doesn't trust Nygma, so he shows up and kind of like tries to shake him down. And then you see, there's still, and probably the least interesting thing to me is what's his name still being the commissioner, and I don't think he is anymore. Vandal Savage. But we still see the conflict between the mayor and Vandal. The mayor gets a shot at the end of the issue, and then someone comes to Bruce and says, "Do you have a brother?" So now I think we're going to get into Hush, maybe,
possibly.
And then Nygma might be up to something, I think, because he wants the Wayne Industries to merge with him. So we'll see where that's going. I kind of just don't see the direction we're going to go in. I mean, there's a lot of things being set up. Maybe we'll get a little more direction for him, but I'm curious to see how this all plays out. Because I think there's a lot going on.
I think I come at it from a different direction than you. I first would love to ask, when you say it's on the nose politically, what do you mean by that? There's
just a lot of like the people protesting out front of Wayne Tower. I see a lot of like protesters saying the same shit in our real life. There's a lot of like real life shit leaking into the book, is what I see. That's kind of what I saw in this issue, and I'm like, I don't really care to like. That
didn't bug me as much. Like, I don't. It's weird. Like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like, I haven't read Babs 2, but I remember Babs 1. It really bugged me how on the nose the politics were, because he was literally talking about internet trolls.
Yeah. Right.
And this one, like, that moment didn't bug me as much, because I get it making sense in the context of the world. I do think it's a little one-sided, but like at this point in my life, like I know everyone's gonna have their side. That's what they're gonna portray. I'm not too worried about one-sidedness as much anymore. It's whether it works for me or not.
Yeah, I guess if we don't, I don't know. I guess if he like leans more into that, I'll probably dislike it.
I agree.
I think that's what came up. I was like, oh man, I really don't want a storyline about this. That's what I thought when I saw it. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be focused around this bullshit kind of thing.
I think it can be used as a part of the story to enhance, because I'm sure at some point Nigma's going. Because there is a part of me that was like, they're trying to musk Igma a little bit.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And I could see Nigma using that whole, like, what we're alluding to here is that Bruce Wayne's referred to as a commie.
Yeah.
And I could see Nigma using that as part of his attack towards Bruce to get the.
Yeah, to like get a.
We'll see. Like I said, it's all about execution to me. Like, you could tell me the story that goes 1,000 degrees against my politics. If it's good, it's good. Like that's all I care about. But this is how I saw Chip setting down the chessboard and being like, "This is where we're at now, and this is what's going on in Gotham. Here's a new character we're introducing. You know, do you remember that Vandal Savage is the commissioner? Well, here he is.
Sure. Yeah.
We see Gordon
since we visited all this shit.
Yeah. It's been like almost 4 months.
Yeah.
We see Gordon, what he's doing. Like, this is what Gordon's. That's how I saw it. Him just like laying out the pieces on the board and saying, "This is what we got."
Yeah.
And then kind of obviously Enigma's going to be the big bad for the bulk of the story arc. I feel like
which is cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Enigma for like maybe 12 issues as like the overarching guy, but then little stories in between. The only complaint I have is through all of that, we did not see Bruce's new like home.
No. Yeah. Where is he chilling?
And I remember that was a big how the story arc ended was him giving a home inside of Gotham.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's there's only so many pages, you can tell so much. I get it.
Right.
I really liked it though. I thought it was good. I do agree with every complaint you had.
Yeah.
But it kind of washes over for me because I do feel like he has to reset the board in a way.
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. Yeah. I do like Riddler being the villain, you know. As long as we don't have Joker, I'm okay. I think.
And dude, that moment when so Riddler's like a tech genius. I don't know if we said that or not.
Yeah.
And there's that moment where Batman like breaks into the tower, and he says something about his servers. He goes, the technology to cool your servers looks really familiar.
Yeah.
And Riddler's just like, well, you gonna call Mr. Freeze and have him like file a patent complaint against me or something?
That was funny. Yeah, that was funny about the Mr. Freeze cooling system.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. All in all, I think we'll see how it goes. I mean, I trust Chip. I've loved his Batman stuff so far. So
I think for me too, like I trust Chip in everything. So while like I said, I agree with you. I just know that it's going to lead to something. And if listen, if we're 5 issues from now and it's been bad, I'll come back to this issue and be like, yeah, you didn't do what I thought you were doing.
Yeah,
so
right. All right, so there's a lot happening between Absolute Power number 4 and DC All-In Special number 1. So Absolute Power is split into 2 sections. All right, so the first section here. So for me, the first part, I would say the resolution of Absolute Power fell flat for me. Like just the overall ending to it was kind of just like, I was building up to like, oh, we have these multiverse flashes and we have like all these other crazy villains and stuff. I want to see more of them. And we find out that there's a time device, very comic book science. There's a time device inside the Amazos. So every time they take damage, they rewind the damage. Because that's how.
Well, we knew that.
Yeah. But that
was like the prelude to Absolute Power.
Yeah, it was the
remember that one shot guy. That wasn't that great.
Yeah, so they can revert it with Batman working on it. Green Arrow was a plant the entire time. Surprising.
That was lame.
Yeah, that was so lame. It was like to me, it was like, how is Waller ever going to trust? She's like, literally like, heroes are a piece of shit. Yeah, Green Arrow, you can work for me, no problem.
Here would have been the more interesting story.
Yeah.
Okay, and I believe DC would do this because they did cancel the Justice League book for 2 years.
Right.
It all falls apart around Green Arrow.
Yeah.
You do the whole, he thought he was on the right side this time.
Yeah.
and do his villain arc.
Yeah.
And then in like 2 or 3 years, you just or you don't necessarily retcon, but you're like, I'm a good guy again now, and he has his own book again. Like, yeah.
And give him like a black suit. Come on.
Yeah, like let him get away.
Yeah.
Spoilers, they capture Waller.
Yeah.
Let Waller get captured, he gets away, and he can be like, while we're doing this whole dark side thing, which we'll get to, but while we're doing that in the DC universe, you can have this like understory, kind of like how Teen Titans did the Beast World book before we got to this. Mm-hmm. You could do a book where it's like the Justice League is after Green Arrow. But yeah, it's never.
So there's a lot of happening. So the powers go back to the heroes. Some of them are kind of flip flopped, which is kind of interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, they're cut off from the multiverse. They say the Flash is without powers because we know that Speed Force is tied to the multiverse, that type of thing. Waller's in prison. She gets captured, and then her memories get wiped clean by Dreamer, which is interesting because it's like, okay, well, how are they ever going to bring Waller back into the fold? How are we ever going to use this character again? Oh, we just wipe her memory of like.
They didn't wipe her memory.
Oh, no. All the stuff she knew about the superheroes.
But they hid it from her because it's purposely shown that it's like on the tip of her. It's like when you have that thought that's on the tip of your tongue and you can't get it out.
It's almost like torture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an easy revert. Like somebody goes in, clicks them back in.
I don't know how her character gets redeemed in the. Maybe she just always will be a villain moving forward in the DC.
In my eyes, she's always been a villain.
Yeah.
I don't see. There's no Amanda Waller to me that was a good person. Like,
but like, are we going to have an Amanda Waller that like the U.S. government's ever going to work with again? Probably not.
Maybe it's the U.S. government, but
yeah, sure. Yeah. What am I?
Yeah. They're like, like at the end of the day, it's comics, so they'll find a way. But I don't think it's. I think it's going to be a tough road for Amanda Waller to come back as like the leader of the Suicide Squad. I'm actually more interested to see what happens with the Suicide Squad moving forward.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I do think, I mean, the better half of this book was the second half because it goes straight into DC all in at the end of this, where we get the new. They say, yeah, we're building the new Justice League Watchtower, and then we get the second half. So I'm trying to think of how it was set up.
Let's see. Absolute Power, because I got it right in front of me, ends with them showing the schematics of the Watchtower.
Right.
So I think what you're thinking of is All In.
All In. Okay, so DC special All In. Yeah.
Well, let's hold up for 1 second so I can give my thoughts on Absolute Power. Yeah. I thought the event was bad.
Yeah, the event was bad. Yeah.
It's actually one of the few times where I wish it was a longer event. Because I felt like...
we didn't see anything.
Yeah, and you even read the side books.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Nothing happened.
And I think you're on the same page as me, is like there was too much in the margins. Yeah. And like it happened too quick. I would have liked them to like kind of just let things go a little bit more and show it in the main book and do it. I also was really confused. I thought that Flash also lost his powers. I don't remember where he got them back.
Yeah.
But that might be a me problem. But I do like, one thing I do like, being cut off from the multiverse. I think it's a cool story plot that they can work with. It also gives, when we get to All In, a reason for Absolute Universe and how it could be like its own thing for a little while. Yeah, all in all, I didn't dig this event. It's one of the it's to be fair, I think DC event's been really good for a while now, and this is the first like not so great one. Yeah. So I'm fine with it like not being so great. It's just, you know, I had high hopes. It's Mark Waid and Dan Moore, two creators I really liked.
Yeah.
But I really I still like them. This book didn't make me not like them, everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah. So DC All In.
DC All In was far better. I got a little choked up in a part. There it is, because it revolves around Booster Gold, folks.
Can I say real quick? So obviously I love when characters I love are represented in books.
Yeah.
But I also I get a little emotional when people like yourself I know in my life and I see the characters they love get representation. And as I'm watching or reading this book, I'm like, fucking Booster, and all I can think in my head is like, Mike's loving this.
Dude, I had like tears in my eyes reading this, and like I try to explain it to like Katie. She's like, a comic book character, and I'm like, you gotta like, boost. And it's funny because they even say it in the episode. So let's talk about the book. So Justice League is like, hey, we got the Watchtower. Let's fill it with people. We're gonna make this really stupid gimmicky ID card that has all these things, and it tells you who to partner with. And I'm like, damn, I hope they start selling these ID cards. Yeah, there it is. Bam, nice. That's awesome. I love it. That's awesome.
So you remember we talked about these on the show?
Yeah.
Apparently, what they didn't say on the
that's awesome.
The press release is the final one is going to be blank.
Oh,
so that you can have your own Justice League card.
That's so cool. I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, so they gave out the cards, but the big thing was like it starts with Booster Gold. Like he finally gets recruited for the Justice League, and he's like, oh man, this is like such a big moment. Like, you've been on the Justice League before. He's like, no, something that I remember. And then we talk about like his origin and like why he, where he is now. And they get everybody in the Watchtower. You get to see all these iconic heroes that they've recruited. And you're like, fuck yes, Justice League Unlimited is back, baby. And then Darkseid shows up and just like fucks their day up. But it's not just Darkseid that shows up. It's like he's like coming in and out of the world, and we know he's not. The multiverse is gone, so we find out that he's paired with the Spectre. So it's like a god Darkseid, and he like shows up to the Watchtower. He fucks everything up, and then he leaves. He grabs and he leaves, and he like infects one of the ID cards, right? So it's like an Omega card, which is really interesting. And I'm sure that won't come up anywhere in the plot line, Chris. But they find out where he's on this another Earth. So they call themselves Earth Alpha, right? Is what they refer to as in the book.
I believe so.
And so we find out that he goes to this other Earth, and they say, hey, Booster, you're a time traveler. We can send you there. And so they send him to the Earth that Darkseid has gone to, and it ends up being the absolute Earth, because we get a glimpse of those heroes, but we see that Darkseid is on this Earth, and it's run by Darkseid, and he has his own Omega Legion, which is like a legion of superheroes, but they're all Omega themed and evil. And Booster loses Skeets immediately and doesn't know where he is, and that's where we leave off, which is so awesome. Man, I haven't been this excited about it. I know we just went from like one event to another. This isn't really an event though. Like, we have these books that are happening on this world, and I'm super excited to find out more.
This is like the DC Rebirth one shot. Like this is all they do this all the time,
right?
And I love this because this gets me re-excited for DC books again.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to talk about that part. Then we'll talk about the origin of Darkseid or what. But
I'll just say with all that, like I said earlier, like I was just really happy reading it because I knew that you were happy reading it. I was
so happy,
and I loved being back in the Watchtower. I loved seeing all those characters show up.
We got to see the Question, how we're going to get her book in the Watchtower. Remember, she's the security guard. Terrible security guard. Darkseid got it.
Yeah, I liked the whole Darkseid attacking. I liked that Superman got the final blow that like sent him to this other universe.
That was cool.
I loved everything about this, from how the story went to the art to everything.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, real quick, when we jump in, the physical version. So like this side is the all-in.
Yeah, that's so
cool. And it's a flip book.
That is really cool the way because digital is just back to back. That's so cool.
And what's really cool is that final page, which I'm sure on yours it shows this is the final page of the second story too.
Epic. Yeah.
So both stories hit it from the same
oh, that's cool. They hit
so
it
you
at the same
flip
time.
to that as the last page of both stories.
Oh.
And it's just from a different perspective because the way it's drawn to work on both sides.
Yeah, so it's not really the second half then. You could read them in any order in the physical edition.
You could, yeah.
Because the other story is like how Darkseid goes out looking for the Spectre. He's like, where the hell is the Spectre? I want to be, because he almost has it's like a Darkseid midlife crisis. He's like, they're like, everybody's like, dude, you've reached the max you can reach. Darkseid is.
Spectre's his Corvette.
Yeah. He's like, Darkseid is. You don't need anything else. There's just like you're the constant in all the universes.
I like that his family's like, we got these parademons, and we got them from things other than humans.
Yeah.
So now we're calling them paradevils.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, this is the part that's written by Scott Snyder, and it is so Scott Snyder.
Oh, it is very. Yeah, they're paradevils. Yeah, they're primeval,
and they're even better than parademons.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I want to put blood in this thing so I can go get fucking Spectre.
So he kills Calabac, which was awesome. Yeah. So we like. He goes across. He goes to hell. He goes to heaven, and they're like, dude, you're like. They're like, we can give you. He's like, I don't want this. I want the Spectre. And so he goes to the dark side of the moon, and he finds Calypso, and he fucking boom tubes Calypso, which was awesome. And then he gets the Spectre, so he can become stronger and like create his own universe is what he wants to do. The world he like births this world in hell and has this whole Omega Legion, and that's like what we get. And I'm like, damn, this is like an epic dark side tale of this is going to be awesome. I cannot wait for I'm going to read every Absolute book. There's no way I don't. I mean, this got me so excited for every issue.
Oh yeah, I'm trying every single one of them.
Yeah,
I love that, like, because then they introduce the Trinity, and it's it's the Batman without the support squad. It's Wonder Woman, but she's raised in hell.
Yeah, and
it's Superman, but like without a family and all. And it's like
just on his own. Yeah,
I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Superman without hope was what I think.
That's what it was. Yeah.
It was epic. Yeah.
I love that this Absolute universe is a Ultimate style universe, but done the DC way.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a copy paste.
No, right. They did it their way. Yeah.
They did it their way, and they did it in a way that's going to. I don't see this lasting longer than 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And will resolve with a big event. But I think it's set up to be a great ride, so I'm all here for it.
Yeah,
this all-in book was phenomenal.
It was amazing. Yeah,
it was. I highly recommend.
They put all their effort in that and on Absolute Power.
Well, and I love that they do this. They do this every so often. They kind of retcon the whole universe.
Yep,
and like give you the overarching story arc for the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
and some people shit on it. Marvel does it too with their whole all new, all different, or whatever they calling it this time around. I think DC does it better.
Mm-hmm.
And this book got me super excited for DC books. Like, I'm looking down the line of what my DC books are for the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, and I'm just excited for every single one of them.
Yeah, super excited.
Yeah.
Last couple things. I read Black Paradox by Junji Ito. Is an interesting horror / like dimensional time travel book about a group that wants to commit like group suicide, and some weird shit starts happening. Very interesting. And then Mimi's Tale of Terror by Junji Ito is actually a retelling of these short stories, horror stories by another author that was really good. So highly recommend any Junji Ito stuff. I'm always reading his stuff. And that's all I got to this week.
A quick Kickstarter book was Star Noir issue 2. Nice. They introduced like another alien species, and that's the alien species that is like causing the murders in town.
Okay.
And they're lizard people, Mike.
Of course they are.
It was a good fun issue. Like it's written for me. It's a like 50s, 60s noir book with Roswell style aliens and stuff. So definitely recommend checking out whenever issue 3 comes out on Kickstarter, which I'm sure will be sometime soon. Let me see. We talked about JSA, so I won't go back on my tangent there. Oh, coming out this week, Space Ghost number 6. Really fun issue that while it starts a new story arc and we get a redemption of a character and everything, it also very much continues what the last issue did. Like, it literally is dealing with the consequences of what happened last issue, introducing a new villain that's very familiar to fans of Space Ghost. It's a great issue. That book's been so good.
Cool.
Star Wars: The Battle of Jakku-Insurgency Rising number 1.
Oh shit.
So we're introduced to who the like Grand Moff is, and he's been introduced before. This is the first time he's been in comics. He's been in some novels and a few video games and stuff. Basically, he's this guy that believes so much in the Empire that even though he knows that the Empire is done, he will not let his like section of the galaxy quit until either he's dead or they're all dead.
Okay.
So that kind of sets up that even though they're directly celebrating the finale of the Battle of Endor in this book and are like planning their next step, there's another fight happening immediately. Like they're automatically already in it and they have to figure that all out. So it was a good setup issue. And then there's a backup story where they tell basically who this new Moth is and like retell some of his tellings from like some of the books and stuff that he's been in before. So that was a really good intro issue for this. And then the last thing I read was Ultraman X Avengers number 2.
Nice. Yeah, I gotta get to that one too.
So essentially, like they're trying to figure things out. Iron Man builds an Iron Man mech.
That's awesome.
Ultraman like I'm not super familiar with Ultraman, so this might make more sense to you. But Ultraman apparently like doesn't want to fight Galactus. He wants to reason with him. Like, so his whole thing was like
not the human himself, but Ultraman himself.
Ultraman, yeah, like the actual kaiju.
They're like another being. Yeah, they're kind of like a lawful neutral, maybe.
Yeah, because his whole thing was like we need to like try to reason with him. He's another cosmic being. I can talk to him as well.
Right, because he's a cosmic being. So yeah.
And he gets there, and Galactus is basically like, "Why are you helping these puny people? Like, get the fuck out of here!"
Yeah, he's like, "Come on, dude."
And that's when Ultraman's like, "Well, I guess we gotta do what we gotta do." Goes back and teams up with the Avengers, and is like, I guess we have to fight them. And Ultraman officially joins the Avengers in this issue.
Cool.
I love the moment with Galactus. He's finally on Earth, and he's like starting to build his machine and everything. And I just love the nonchalantness of Galactus. Like he doesn't care about anyone else around him.
Yeah.
Even when a giant kaiju like Ultraman walks up to him, he still just like looks down on him.
Yeah, that's funny.
So it was a really fun issue. I think you'll like it a lot.
I love that series.
So yeah, that was everything I read, Mike. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Fortress Ricker on X/Twitter. Where can they find you and or the show?
You can find me on X at Fortress Chris. That's also goes for other social media networks. So if you're on one of those, check those out and check me out there. Also at chriscomicscorner.substack.com, where I do fun stuff there. You can find the show at FortressComics_ on X or at fortresscomicnews.com. And if you want to support the show on the podcast you're using, specifically if you're using Apple Podcasts or Spotify, 5-star reviews go a long way, and we really appreciate that. And if you're on the YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment down below. And then for those that want to go the extra mile, there's patreon.com/FortressComics. Nice. Thank you all so much for watching and or listening this week. We'll see you all here next week with some New York Comic Con news. Man.